Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn, for your testimony today. I wanted to talk a little bit about how your budget proposal is going to have impact on the millions of vulnerable children across this country. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the impact that I see that it will have, because I don't feel like you or this administration or Trump gets it.
All right, guys, let's jump straight into this because what you are about to hear is Ilhan Omar at maximum volume, using every emotional lever she can pull. From the very first second, Ilhan Omar launches into the conversation by questioning who deserves to eat, instantly shaping the room with pressure instead of facts. This is classic Ilhan Omar strategy: fire a dramatic question before anyone can breathe. And the moment she begins, you feel the shift. Ilhan Omar isn't interested in clarification, she's interested in domination. Her goal is simple: frame the witness, frame the administration, frame the policy debate before a single detail is examined. That is why Ilhan Omar storms in with loaded questions, not neutral inquiries. This opening sets the tone of the entire exchange, and she controls it with unrelenting emotional force.
In America, 1 out of 5 children struggle with hunger. And for many of these children, the free lunch and breakfast that they get in school is often the only meal they get to have. Yet the budget that you're proposing, and this administration and Trump is proposing, makes a $1.7 billion cut from school meals over the next 10 years. A cut that largely would result in more than 29,000 children.
As the discussion continues, Ilhan Omar doubles down, not allowing the witness a chance to define his own proposal. She paints Mr. Vaughn as someone ripping food away from children, long before he even finishes a full explanation. Ilhan Omar understands the power of accusation, and she weaponizes it with precision. Instead of addressing the structure of the budget, she dramatizes it, shaping every statistic as a moral crime. This is where Ilhan Omar excels, bending numbers into emotional threats. Every sentence becomes a rhetorical hammer. And while Mr. Vaughn attempts to clarify, Ilhan Omar keeps steering the conversation back into shock and outrage, never allowing the temperature to cool.
Losing access to free school meals program in my home state of Minnesota alone. What this budget does is quite literally take food out of the mouths of children. How can these kids be expected to be present and fully present in classes, to learn in the same space as other kids? How can we expect them to reach their full potential?
When Ilhan Omar begins highlighting the 1 in 5 child hunger statistic, she shifts into full performance mode, speaking as though the witness personally designed the crisis. She repeatedly positions herself as the defender of America's children while branding the budget as malicious. This technique is deliberate. Ilhan Omar knows the audience hears emotions louder than data. And each time Mr. Vaughn tries to emphasize eligibility requirements or structural fairness, Ilhan Omar redirects him. For her, the point isn't accuracy, it's impact. She needs the moment to feel catastrophic. That rhetorical style overwhelms the room, leaving little space for nuance.
And how can we expect them to be able to be on the same footing as other kids around the world? I often say that budgets are a value statement, as you have many times in this committee. And you said that we are committed to having promises kept. What does this budget and your proposal in cutting the child nutrition programs say about the promises that we want to keep to children and where our values really are?
Then Ilhan Omar escalates again, focusing heavily on the Minnesota statistic: 29,000 children losing meal access. Instead of exploring the mechanics behind that projection, she presents it as a done deal, implying intent rather than outcome. Ilhan Omar isn't asking questions anymore, she's prosecuting a narrative. She frames the administration's motives as cruel, presenting every reduction as deliberate harm rather than logistical restructuring. Mr. Vaughn attempts to explain rescissions and grouping rules, but Ilhan Omar bulldozes over the details. Her strategy is clear: overwhelm logic with scale, emotion, and urgency. And she does it with flawless political aggression.
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. We don't think that our budget cuts the programs that you refer to. Specifically, we think that it's important that high-income schools that are currently grouped together right now to receive benefits because they're grouped with low-income schools, that's unfair for the programs themselves. Similarly, some of the reductions that you've talked about are with regard to one-time rescissions that are not needed to be able to cover all of the children that we currently project. And we know Congress...
Next comes one of Ilhan Omar's sharpest moments, where she declares that the budget takes food out of the mouths of children. This line is crafted for headlines, not analysis. Ilhan Omar leans heavily into imagery designed to provoke outrage, building moral judgment rather than policy discussion. She presses the witness with questions about how hungry children can compete in classrooms, layering moral pressure on every word. And again, Mr. Vaughn tries to respond with the mechanics of eligibility, but Ilhan Omar prevents any pivot toward detail. She shapes the conflict so aggressively that every answer sounds defensive, no matter its content.
How is the assessment made what child deserves to eat and what child doesn't? My understanding is that we should care about every single child arriving in that school, having the resources that they need to be able to get educated and be fully present. We have parents who might fall off the threshold of whatever that income is, who might not be able to pack a lunch or a breakfast or milk or a cookie or an apple for their kids. Should those kids not be able to have meals in the school so that they can be fully present in that classroom? Is that what this administration values?
Ilhan Omar then brings the conversation into the realm of national values, lecturing the committee on whether America still honors its promises to children. She reframes the entire hearing as a test of morality, with herself positioned as the voice of conscience. This is a signature Ilhan Omar tactic: escalate a procedural discussion into a sweeping moral indictment. And as she repeats her value statement argument, she reinforces her identity as the champion of vulnerable children while painting the opposing side as indifferent. Mr. Vaughn's measured tone stands in stark contrast, but Ilhan Omar leverages that calmness against him, making him appear cold rather than factual.
We believe it's important that communities that are otherwise ineligible to receive these types of benefits not receive these benefits, and that only the communities that are eligible receive them.
But how is the judgment of what the value of the benefits is made? We are talking about children in our classrooms. We are talking about America's most vulnerable. Earlier, you talked about the harvest box. You said if they are not home, that they should pay a price.
No, I didn't say that.
That was the example you used, that if you're not home, then you pay a fee.
No.
So what penalty would you think should...
When she presses again with her "what child deserves to eat and what child doesn't" refrain, Ilhan Omar returns to her opening weapon, moral absolutism. She narrows the debate into a single emotional trap: either you support her narrative or you are the villain. Ilhan Omar uses this moment to dismantle any middle ground, declaring that even parents who barely miss the threshold are proof the system is unjust. And once again, she frames the witness as someone intentionally denying food to children, regardless of what he actually said. Her repetition is strategic. Ilhan Omar knows that repeating the accusation embeds it deeper than any answer.
We propose for people who might not be home to receive juice or cereal box or a canned meat.
I specifically was not referring to suggesting that they should pay a penalty. The point I was making, Congresswoman, is that we don't think that it matters where you are on the income scale to be able to determine a certain level of responsibility to receive in the mail that which you are expecting to receive in the mail. We think that human beings are responsible from that standpoint.
I get that.
Finally, Ilhan Omar brings up the harvest box remark, twisting it into a question about penalties and punishment. Even after Mr. Vaughn insists he never suggested penalties, Ilhan Omar continues pressing the idea, anchoring the perception even after it's denied. This is Ilhan Omar at full force, persistent, emotional, and completely commanding the room. She pushes the debate until the witness has no choice but to defend things he never claimed. And as the exchange ends, Ilhan Omar secures exactly what she wanted: a narrative built on intensity, urgency, and moral accusation. Whether or not the facts align is irrelevant. Ilhan Omar successfully dominated the conversation from beginning to end,